Hello, everyone. Welcome to Let the Ladies Speak. I am your host, Sonya. Here on my channel, we have healthy discussions about life, love, dating, and relationships while promoting self love and healing. We also have a special guest today, and our special guest is the lovely, beautiful, my YouTube friend, Miss First Home Tuber. Hi.
Hi, Sonya Cinco.
Hi.
I love you, girl. So happy to be here on the podcast.
I love you too. And thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your story. I appreciate you. Cheers. I'm going to get my water.
Yes.
Ding, ding. Don't mind the nails, y'all. Clink, 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 clink. It's been a busy week. So I'm
Mm.
so happy that you are here. How was your day today?
My day was great. I did lots of content for my channel today.
You
Well,
guys go check it out.
yes. So this week I wanted to focus on, getting started in your home buying journey. So I posted fresh content, replied to some emails. So it's been a nice, productive day here at home.
Wonderful. And for you guys who don't know First Home Tuber, which I'm sure you do know, First Home Tuber has a channel here on YouTube, and she is helping first time home buyers get the home of their dreams. She is educating everyone on how to buy a home, what the process is, and what to expect. So please, please, please go subscribe to her channel. If you're watching this on replay, we appreciate you. Hi, Miss Joe. Welcome. Thank you for stopping by. I know, right?
Love her.
Same here. I just subscribed to her channel, so I have a lot of catching up to do.
Oh my gosh, she's great.
And Kimberly is here. Hey, Kimberly. Thank you for stopping by. Okay, so tonight we are continuing our singleness series, and I felt like there were some things we didn't necessarily get into. You Fisher Bunny. I feel like there's some things we didn't get into and we want to talk about tonight. And I wanted to have a one-on-one conversation with First because First has decided to stay single for life. Now, I'm single for a season, and I understand why you would want to be single for a season, but we're going to dive more into why this beautiful woman is single for life. Although I think singleness is a great thing. So tell us a little, let's start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your dating journey.
Well, my dating journey actually overall has been very positive. I always say I've been really lucky. I
Mhm.
attract, hey, Aubrey, I'm so excited to see everybody.
I know, right?
um, I attract quality people, which I'm really grateful for,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
and because I have, sisters, friends, people that I know who have had, really, really difficult, dark experiences in some cases. So, I want to say, fairly lucky,
Hmm.
which
Okay.
is positive. So, yeah, earlier in my life, I took a casual approach. Hi, Mona King. I took a casual approach to dating.
Hmm.
I think, like most people, I was raised to focus on my education
Hmm.
and being productive in the world and
Hmm.
being, presenting well. And that's kind of how I was groomed
Hmm.
in my household. And
Right.
so I focused on that. And, as women, we just get attention from men. It's not something you have to start doing or try to do. It
Hmm.
just happens. And,
Hmm.
so men would approach me and I would, the ones that I liked, I would, entertain. I've had relationships. Um, I've had not a lot of relationships, but I've had lots of interaction in terms of, people kind of approaching. So, yeah, I will say though that when, as a young girl, perhaps because of how I was groomed, um, I, mm, I didn't feel the need or desire for marriage as like it wasn't like a it wasn't like something that I was like dreaming about or anything like that. There was a time where I met someone specific and I said I'll marry that.
Right.
I can see myself, doing all of that with with that person.
Mhm.
But outside of that, it's not a longing that I had. And I
Mhm.
really couldn't relate to other women, my sisters, my friends, my girls, when they express that. I understand that they feel that way, but I never felt that way.
I've never felt that way either.
Wow.
I never felt the what from a young girl, I always said, "I am not getting married, and if I do, we have to live in separate houses," right?
Mm.
But I grew up in a Christian household, and that's all they talked about. In fact, my grandmother, my ex-fiance, because I shared this that I was engaged before, my ex-fiance proposed. Well, we talked about marriage 3 times. He
Mm.
met my grandmother, and my grandmother said, "That's your husband," and that's why I said yes. On top of he was good husband material. I won't take that away from him. So I can relate. But this isn't about me. This is about you, boo.
Yeah.
So
But it's the same. Yeah, I met a real, real good one. It's a real, real good one. And I said, okay, I think I could do that. But, and then of course, when that relationship ended, I'm like, I know that that's not for me. And then so I knew I didn't want to get married, but, I'm not somebody that hates men. I don't hate men. I haven't had terrible trash experiences with men. So,
Mhm.
I continued to date until that became an issue because I felt it only fair and right for me to be forthcoming with the people I would date that I did not want to be married, that wasn't a goal.
Mhm.
And they actually felt some kind of way about it.
Yeah.
And it made things really strained. And then ultimately, I decided not to date. And so that's where the single for life kind of came in.
Okay. So you're not dating
No,
anyone at all ever
at
again.
all. No.
And so I'm going to ask the question that you asked me on one of my lives one day. What if he's fine, fine? Because you know my rule on fine, fine. Fine, fine doesn't mean anything to me. But what if he's fine, fine?
If he's fine, fine. It's great because many of them are fine. We have beautiful men,
We do.
beautiful men.
We do.
And and even here, especially here in Chicago, there are lots of beautiful men to look at. And I just look at them and I
Mhm.
leave them right where they are.
It's like it's like the one forbidden fruit. Like, do you find that dating is stressful?
Mm. I find that dating is a sacrifice, that
Mm.
it requires contribution. It requires time, attention. A lot of men don't see it this way, but women spend money to date. For example, look at this gorgeous woman. This is not right. This took, I mean, she's naturally beautiful, but,
Oh, I thought you was talking about you.
I'm
I
talking about you. I'm
know.
doing
I'm
this.
talking about you.
But caring
Yeah.
for ourselves, all of that,
Mhm.
is investment.
Right.
So, the time investment, there is a bit of a financial investment even for women.
Mhm.
And, I am a logical person when it
Mhm.
comes to decision making.
Mhm.
My degree is in finance. I went to business school. This is
Mhm.
how I make decisions, cost benefit analysis, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
So if
Mhm.
I'm going to invest time, resources,
Mhm.
attention into something that could net me zero or worse, less than zero, that's
Mhm.
not smart.
It isn't smart. It isn't smart. So, what do you say to the people who say, "But what about love and companionship?"
I would say that men and women have different ideas of love and companionship. And I
Mhm.
think what a lot of women are hoping for is not what men are looking to provide.
Mhm.
And so, in terms of love, I experience love because I am love,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So I have love in my life.
Right.
Romantic partnership to me is something entirely different.
Mhm.
And that's kind of how I see it.
Understood. So, he's so cute. So, we're not dating, and
We're
you're
not.
focusing on your career and your life and the love of yourself. And I deem myself the self-love advocate. I'm all for self-love advocacy. Are you dating yourself?
I'm laughing at Demita, not you.
Me too.
That's true. That's true. And
So,
and there is a period where
mhm,
I said, I don't really know much about men.
mhm,
My brothers are younger than I am.
mhm,
And my dad is like, so coddles me. Like it's another level, right?
mhm, mhm, mhm,
I
mhm.
don't get
Good for
like
you.
tough love from my dad. He just loves on me. That's it, right?
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
There was a period in my adult life where I learned about men, how
Mhm.
they are, what they want, what motivates them, that kind of thing. So
Right.
I always joke and say, I know everything about men. I do. I know men in and out. And
Mhm, mhm,
that's why I
mhm,
don't want one.
mhm.
But back to your question, I wouldn't say I'm dating myself. I would say I'm open to life and
Mhm,
I'm free to live. And it's not just my career, which I love,
mhm,
love,
mhm.
love.
Right.
Also, everything I want to learn and experience, everything I'm interested or curious about, I have the freedom to, go after that
Right.
and experience that without, restriction.
There is so much freedom in singleness, and I think people don't recognize that. And I also think a lot of people who ignore that component get into relationships and they want to operate out of that space of still being a single person. You just have a title and then you have a person, but you don't really recognize the level of commitment and how much you have to consider your partner, right? Like I love you, I love to travel. I enjoy traveling and I enjoy solo trips. If
Yes.
I am married or if I have a partner, I'm not going to say I can't take solo trips because I still can, but I also have to think about how me making these decisions will impact my partner if something was to happen to me. You know what I mean? Whereas
100%.
now I just go. I don't have any children. The
Mhm.
rest of my
Same.
family, y'all have to fend for yourself because I don't have any children now. I don't have any children. I don't have a husband, right? So when I get to just live my life and I don't have to consider anyone else, which some people feel is selfish. What are your thoughts on that? I personally don't think so, but what do you think?
I don't think it's selfish because growing up, I had many examples of marriage. I always say I had two, four, six, no less than six parents. Okay. Everyone in my family was married.
Mm-hmm.
I saw lots of marriage. Okay.
Me too.
And what I observed is that for a woman, wifedom, being married, is a total life sacrifice. It is a total life sacrifice. I
Right.
also observed, and this is so interesting to me, men do not have an appreciation for how much of a sacrifice it is because they don't understand how much of a sacrifice it is. So
Mhm.
they can't even attempt to return what they are receiving or any level or degree of it because
Mhm.
they really don't get it. I asked my ex, men don't even know about pregnancy. They don't know what happens to a woman's body during
Mhm.
pregnancy other
Mhm.
than her belly getting larger. I
Right.
asked him, I said, "Do you know what a mucus plug is?" He said,
You went all the way there.
because I was being serious about being a potential wife and mother. So I did the research. I
Mhm.
know about all of the things. And he had unrealistic expectations,
Mhm.
you know, you know, around that. And I would even venture to say that men, even good dads,
Right.
aren't can't fully appreciate all that a woman goes through when it comes to pregnancy, post, you know. And so I'm like, you're going to sacrifice that for somebody who doesn't even get it. Most men don't even get, they don't even know.
They don't know. They don't have a clue.
Yeah.
And, I don't think it's a conversation that's really had. And here, this is what I'm going to say. I see in my work, in my line of work as a nurse, I see a lot of men come in, and we don't talk about this. They come in and they are completely lost without their wives, right? Completely lost, to the point where I was telling you this before we got on the live. We have some men in their 50s and 60s that go to nursing homes just to have someone take care of them, right? They haven't cared for themselves all these years. Now they have these needs. They're really not nursing home needs, but if they can get there for some women to care for them, they will. You have them offering to give you your whole paycheck, their whole paycheck, their pension, their whatever they have, so that they can, yes, ma'am. Yes, Aubrey. It's these are things we don't talk about. We don't talk about how needy a lot of these men are. And what's so interesting, and I'm not down to men. I love men. I love Black men, especially. Love you. I'll be back out there in a little bit. We love you, but we're going to talk about some truths. And the truth is, a lot of them have needs and they don't know how to care for themselves. And a lot of men are looking for mothers in their relationship. They're not really looking for partnerships and wives. And I have had some interesting stories as it relates to that. But a lot of the women who come in,
Tell us one.
huh? You trying to get me in trouble?
Tell us one.
But I've had a lot of men come in who like I said, they're still needy. They're looking for another wife and they're trying to gaslight you into I'm gonna leave this here because I want to address this, Miss Aubrey. They try to gaslight you and tell you something's wrong with you. I just had a patient tell me that. He was like, "Oh, you single and you 40?" He's like, "Oh, let me out of here. It's something wrong." No, it isn't. I don't want to be your slave, baby. That's all it is. I don't want to be your slave. But here he couldn't put his pants on. You know what I mean? And he wasn't that old either. And so it's things like that. But the women I see, women are like, "Girl, you single, you never had any kids, you've been able to live your life." It's like, "Oh, you've been free." I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. You're a free woman. What was that like? And they want to share that story. So I think there's just misconception. And especially in this day and time, we now have access to things we didn't have access to before. So now it's time for you to bring more to a relationship besides being a male, the vitamin D and money. Okay. And so Miss Aubrey said she feels sad for them. In a way I do and in a way I don't, because I'm gonna tell you something. These men, when you hear them talk, a lot of them, not all, I'm not making a blanket statement. A lot of them were womanizers. They were men who were just womanizers, who were out here, who thought they had all the time in the world, and they ruined their bodies. They didn't take care of themselves. And then they ended up in the situation that they're in, or they really mistreated a really good woman,
Mm-hmm.
playing
Yep.
around.
Yep. Lost her.
And that was, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When I used to work for a department store, a lot of those men would come in crying. They didn't even know what size underwear they wore. But when I worked for the bank, the women was like, "I don't know what our finances is like, but I'm gonna figure this out. Who can I talk to help me?" You know what I mean? It's just a different mindset. I agree.
Right.
Sheesh.
Sheesh. And some of them, the level of, like, in addition to not appreciating it, some of them will, have a woman contribute her best years to them, give birth to all of the offspring, care for the offspring to their, healthy, productive adults, and then feel like they're not entitled to anything. It's truly an arrangement where you can get into it and get nothing out of it, or, like I said, potentially less.
Right. You really have to do a really, really good job of um finding a partner. And it's not as easy. It's easy to find a man. It
Oh,
is
very
not
easy.
easy to find the right partner, and that's what I try to drive home to people when they talk about singleness. It's easy to find a man. You can find a man. You can get somebody to move in with you, all those things. It
Mm,
is difficult to find a true partner that's gonna love you, that's gonna honor you and treat you the way that you deserve to be treated. That's where the caveat comes in. Why do people defend black men? They don't deserve it. Miss Arby, I love my black men because they're still an extension of us. That's
mhm.
why. And I'm gonna be honest. Some of this is our fault. Some of it, not all, but we can take we there's accountability to go around here because a lot of black women treat their sons like their boyfriends, and then they don't know how to be a man when when it's time for them to be the head of the household or to be a man. So I see, and I've seen a lot of that growing up.
Very true. Very true. And, it's interesting to me though. I've also kind of learned and discovered. I realized I learned more once I was no longer participating in the dating game, right?
Yeah.
So once I was outside of it, just observing literally, and
Mhm.
I had, no emotional, thoughts about it because it didn't even pertain to me. I learned even more. Many men
Mhm.
don't want marriage. Many men don't want the kind of fairy tale. They're not even socialized that way at
Yeah,
all.
it's
that
true.
that women seek. And I did observe the period between when I decided I did not want to be married and I was still dating.
Mhm.
When I would share that with men, they would
Mhm.
be so shook
Mhm.
because men understand how much women want that.
Mhm.
And a man who can't use that as some kind of like carrot
Yeah.
to bait you or manipulate you or attempt to get you to act right or do certain things, they
Mhm.
they don't know what to do after that. They're just like
That's you, because that's the game, right? You
right,
make her
exactly.
think she's because they are told. So I have 5 uncles. I really have 6, but I grew up with 5 uncles, right? And 2 granddads, and I was the apple of their eye. They never held anything back. I had one uncle who owned a barbershop, and one thing he would have me do is sit and listen. He would just say, just sit and listen. And you would hear all this bad advice being given, you know, and men who didn't have father figures in their life, they absorbed that information and they took it as Bible and took it as true. Miss Joe, I want to say she made a comment about they have bad backs. Honey, they have more than bad backs. Let me tell you about some penile implants. They got high blood pressure, so they can't do what needs to be done. They can't sustain. They have high blood sugars that they're not controlling, so their
Mhm.
vascular system and kidneys are shutting down. They have, and I'm a nurse, so that's the first thing they tell you. I don't. My doctor told me I have high blood pressure, and I'm thinking to myself, this is gonna be a no because I don't want to be your home nurse.
It's a
I'm
no.
not signing up to care for you.
It's a no. And also, my sit and listen happened later in life. I wasn't a
Mhm,
little girl in the barbershop. My dad, this is what he told me about men. He said, "Baby, if a man wants to touch you," he
mhm.
didn't say have sex. He said touch, like
Yeah,
touch you.
yeah,
He
yeah,
has
yeah,
to marry you.
yeah.
And if a man wants to marry you, he has to come talk to me. That
Mhm,
was the extent. That's the only conversation I've ever had with my dad about men ever.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
But my sit and listen actually came as a result of the internet. It was the manosphere. Now, I wasn't in there like talking, I was just listening.
Mhm,
And I'm just listening. And I'm
mhm,
like, wow, really? Wow. And I also took a look at not only the voices, because I believe on social media the loudest voices can sometimes be the most obnoxious voice or whatever, but I also paid attention to who the men who were liking that kind of content, who were
mhm,
commenting on or following that kind of content,
mhm.
and it really opened my eyes to lots of things.
Yes. You know what? I'm happy you said that because one thing, so I was writing something out today, and one thing I want to say in dating It's important for a person to be a student of their partner, but in your singleness, it's important for you to be a student of men, right? I grew up around a certain kind of man, but the men that I dated were not the same type of men that I grew up around because I didn't want anything to do with that type of man, right? But my eyes were open to a whole nother world. So yes, they had all of these other things where I thought I wouldn't have to worry, but there were other concerns. So then I had to become a student of men altogether. And I think as women, a lot of times, not always, again, no blanket statements, we don't want to listen. So I commend you for that. Sometimes if you just listen, you will learn so much about them and their thought process. The unfortunate part is about the manosphere, though, is that they are the loudest. And there are some men who don't feel the way they actually feel that they are terrible, but you don't really hear about them. You don't hear about the Kev Hicks and a lot about RC Blakes and men like that who actually try to like uplift women, promote black family, the Ellises promote black families and things like that. You don't hear about them as much. And I wanted to say, Monique, you're right. It's a vicious cycle. It is a vicious cycle. But can I get on this just for a little bit first? I want just
Yes,
a smidge.
ma'am.
Well,
Whatever you like. Hey,
so
this is Let the Lady Speak podcast, like the video.
I know, but this is about your singleness, child.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to stay myself focused. But I do want to say, I was thinking about this cycle, and yes, it's a vicious cycle where we have a lot of um single parents. I want us as women, one of the goals of my channel is us as women to choose better. I want us to choose wisely. I think a lot of times we just jump and get into these relationships because we're happy to be chosen. You have all these red flags. You know, this man isn't going to be a good father to his children because he's not taking care of the children he had, or, he's not responsible for money. He can't meet your needs and he's not available emotionally, all these things. And then we have children with these men. And birth control, you can get birth control for free. You get on some birth control, take your birth control, honey. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. I really, really do want women to just pick better and choose wisely. So, but
Great message.
what are your thoughts on that, my lady? What are your thoughts on the cycle of single parents?
Um, I don't. I feel like mm, I think parenting is so tough, and I'm not a parent, so I kind of
Stay clear.
exactly. I steer
Yeah.
clear because I respect it. Because
Mhm.
it's not easy. Like I said, my brothers are younger than me, so much younger that I like change their diapers and stuff. So I have a sense of, again, the sacrifice that motherhood is. Hey, Miss
Hey,
Creative.
Miss Creative. Mhm.
All the ladies are here.
I know, right? She's so beautiful, girl. You are stunning. Look at
Isn't
this
she?
picture. Get
Yes,
into
red
this
lip.
picture, child, with the red lip.
Hey,
Beautiful.
red face.
Strike a pose.
Strong J. But yeah, I do see it. I can tell you for sure that my brothers were raised very differently than I was, and very, very differences. So I see that. I see that. And I also became, kind of conscious of, I began to ask men what examples of marriage they had and what their perspective was, on that.
Mhm.
And that can be interesting as well,
Mhm.
to find out that information. So that's a tip for, my ladies who are still dating. And my heart goes out to you. I in no way feel like women, should be single like I am. That was, my choice.
Mhm.
But I just feel it's kind of rough out here. So I just want to send love
And
because
support.
it looks really tough.
Yeah, it is tough. I think we should just, for one, take your time.
Mhm.
I think it's important to know yourself well, know what you're looking for. A lot of us don't know what we're looking for, and that's part
Mhm.
of the problem. You're just out here on a wing and a prayer, which is why I talk about the list. I do believe the list is important. I think it needs to be realistic and reasonable, but I do think the list is important. Um, and for me and my age group, I know it would be a while, you know? I'm dealing with men who have a lot that they're dealing with from the past, and it spills over into our dating pool. But I do want someone to travel with. I don't want to get married. I don't want to settle down like that. I just want someone to travel with and some companionship and go out to dinner every blue moon. And that's about the extent. I'm not looking for anything serious. But like you said earlier, when you say that,
Mhm.
then again, either they don't have the opportunity to play the game that they want to
Yep.
play, so that kind of shuts things down, or it becomes a challenge and it's an unnecessary challenge. Like, don't
Right.
challenge me. I know exactly what I'm doing here. So you either this is what you want to do or it's not what you it's not
Yeah.
what you want to do.
Yeah. Or there were times where I attracted a man and they were like, "Oh, that's a bummer because I'm really serious about actually getting married." And so I
Mhm,
actually met a couple like that. And so I tried to like pass them around to like my other single friends or just like, like a recommendation.
mhm. Well, they're really
um,
good.
but yeah.
Mhm. So we hear about KS allegedly. I don't know if it's been confirmed, but they said that he passed away. My prayers go to his children and his family. I hope he's okay. I was not a fan at all. However, I still believe we are all human. So, no one wants to go through a loss. I've lost family, and I'm sure a lot of us can relate. So, prayers to him. I don't think he was ill or anything, but I don't know, maybe more will come out.
Yes. Hope he's well. Hope it's not true. Hope it's just a rumor.
I
And
hope so too.
yeah.
Yes. Live your best life. You know what? That's the thing. And for me, like my story, the reason why one of the reasons why I never want to get married, same as you, I
Mhm.
had been through same as you, I saw a lot of marriages and toxic. I saw a lot of toxic relationships. They were married, but they were toxic, and no one was really
Mhm.
happy. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
"Well, what are y'all doing? Like, you just are coexisting." So, that's why I chose not to. But I like to do what I want to do, and I understand the responsibility of marriage.
Yeah.
Kevin Samuels, he's a YouTuber who's like the head of the manosphere out here.
The Godfather.
They call him the Godfather. Refuse. I'm sorry,
Even
no
he helped
disrespect.
me.
Huh?
That's the thing. Even he helped me. That's the thing. I think all information
It's
is
good information.
exactly. And so he's one of the people I discovered, and I was like, wow, really, wow.
Wow.
But I like what Official Bunny said in our when you did your single ladies panel,
Mhm,
Sonya, and we
mhm,
talked about the benefits of singlehood.
mhm,
Being able to guarantee my sexual health
mhm.
was definitely a positive when it came to my decision to be single for life. That
Yeah,
is one of the things that I really feel great about.
yeah. And that is nice to not have that as a concern, because we can say we're going to use condoms, but after a while, and you can get tested. Like, I'm a big component about bring me your papers. I'm on some
Mhm.
papers, but things can happen in between time.
Mhm.
So there is that risk. Pregnancy has never been an issue because I am diligent about my birth control when I'm
Mhm.
active, but there is that concern about sexual health and being healthy.
Yeah.
No. So I know I'm getting distracted with this
No, it's
comments.
cool. They're so
So
fun.
they are. Thank you guys so much for interacting and for coming here. Please thumbs up the video and please share it out. We're sorry, Miss Monique. You knew him personally. So prayers to you as well.
Mhm, yeah.
Prayers to you as well. But I really hope his family is okay. So, what else about your single journey would you like to share with us?
Just that it's cool. As we've shared, I like being able to, since making this decision, it's opened up my whole life. I never
Mhm,
realized until I made the decision that as women and young women and girls, even, we
mhm.
shape our life off of the man we think is coming down the pipeline.
Yes.
Right. And so
Mhm,
I didn't realize how much that governed, even on a subconscious level, the decisions I was making. And now life is just completely open. I'm licensed in 2 states now, which is cool. And, I get to be in one place, for
mhm,
a certain number of months and then come back to my city and
mhm,
travel and learn and explore. It also brought, a settling because I wasn't, like waiting for someone to arrive in my life.
right.
And I talked in our last stream about, my relationship with my body. That was a positive thing. Um, and, the only thing really is, just that I have to be, a smart girl and
Mhm,
make
mhm,
sure I'm, investing well because it's all on me. I will say, and I didn't say this during the panel,
mhm.
um, the the hardest part, honestly, for me was I know that my parents are really disappointed. They'll never say it. They'll say, "Oh, baby, we love you, and as long as you're happy, we're happy." That's all they talk about.
Right, right.
But on a certain level, especially with my dad, who's like a traditional Southern guy, I
Mhm,
think he is disappointed about the grandchild thing and all that because I'm the only girl.
mhm,
So that honestly, to just be really transparent, has been the hardest part is knowing, that, their feelings about it, even though they won't tell me.
mhm,
But other than that, I'm really happy about my decision.
mhm.
I haven't counted, I'm not sure how many years it's been, but things are going well.
Well, that's good. I'm happy to hear that. And then you have your freedom,
Yes.
right? You know what I've found to be, and I want your thoughts on this, the freedom to be exactly who you are, because you kind of touched on this a little bit, where you said, we are conditioned, right? We get
Hmm.
baby dolls when we're little, we get the kitchenettes when we're little, they get cars. Boys get cars and drums and they get to play and be wild. We have to know how to sit like a lady, how to eat like a lady, what a lady does. My grandfather's from the South too. He used to say, don't raise your hand over your, like, there were all these rules, and these
Yeah.
rules were in place because you had to be ready to be a wife.
Hmm.
And so talk to us a little bit more about that freedom of
Uh,
learning who you are and exactly what you want as an individual.
It's so great because you know what? I'm actually like kind of weird. So it's opened that up more for me in terms of, what I wear, how I look, not judging myself based on desirability. That's been huge. But also back to me being a weirdo. I love, metal and, saying metal. And I can relate to Jada Pinkett Smith. When,
Mhm.
she started in metal, and everybody was like, "No, do R&B. You're so pretty, and you're this, and you're that, and you're an actress, and do R&B, and everybody will get behind it."
Mhm.
And I had like almost the exact same, experience. And so, you just you can do whatever. That freedom, that feeling, just knowing that, and also as women, we're dynamic and we change, right? So I don't have to feel like, okay, I was this way when this person committed to me, so now I'm always going to have to present this way or participate in this. And
Mhm.
so it gives me the freedom as I grow to just be, which is
Right.
great. That's a
That
good
is
question.
yes. Oh, thank you. This one here or the one I asked?
Oh, both.
Well, thank Miss Creative wants to know what made you remain single.
Great question. What made me want to remain single is my analysis of my options.
Mhm,
First, the statistics of available men to available women,
mhm,
and then, paring that down to men who truly are interested in partnership and marriage in the way that I would be, right? And then
mhm,
paring that down to of those men who represents the qualities and level of integrity that's important for me.
mhm,
And I found that that's actually a very small number. And, I'm a positive person. I believe in possibility. And,
mhm,
I could go into the dating space just believing, hoping that, that would work out. But I have to be realistic about, like I said, the time and investment I would have to put in for that potential outcome, not that guaranteed outcome. And even if I found that,
mhm,
statistically, for that to, sustain itself for the rest of my life is even less probable, you know? And
mhm.
so, I weighed my choices, and I was never taught growing up that me just being single was a choice. It was always about which man and what kind of man, what type of man. And,
That's right.
right. And so I just, want women to know that, this is that they have choices. That's all. I'm not here to say what is the right choice for you, but this is definitely the right choice for me. And that is my answer to your question.
Thank you for answering the question. And you have that right. I think people feel like, and I'll have you speak to this. What are some of the misconceptions that people have said to you regarding your choice? But I think people feel like we are, um, there's something wrong. There's
Mhm.
something wrong with you if you don't want to be married. There's a problem. Hey, beautiful, welcome.
Bye-bye.
There's something wrong. So, what have been the biggest misconceptions you've encountered or people have said to you regarding your choice to be a single lady?
I'm single.
Oh,
um, that that I'm crazy, all the things we say about women, which is really just internalized misogyny, but that I'm crazy, that I can't get a man, that I can't keep a man. I will. Yeah. That's a little sidebar, but those are popular misconceptions.
mhm.
Yeah, that I've
Well,
heard in response to that. But I left out something on the previous question,
okay.
and that is I thought long and hard about finding blah blah blah. How would I say this about monogamy
Mhm,
and how capable the average man or most men are of that. And I can't lie,
mhm,
but the number of married men who have approached me in my lifetime is alarming. Um, the number of my married male friends who I know are outside of their relationship doing other things. I had a guy friend come uh, to Chicago and we hung out. And, he talked to me about his married guy friends. He
mhm.
said they all date more than my single friends.
Yes.
They're on
I
sites, they're in the club. And so I can't lie, that did deter me as well when I
mhm,
was contemplating marriage. And
mhm.
then, as far as dating, it was just because men weren't reacting well to the fact that I didn't want to be married.
And you know what? That is so true. I don't think people really understand how much infidelity there is. And then you'll get women who will say, that's not true. I'm gonna get a divorce right away. That's a whole nother conversation because most times you don't get a divorce right away. Because once you get into a marriage, there's a lot to lose once you build it, and not everyone walks away right away. So you have another question here, my lady.
One day, what if you met your perfect fit randomly? Would you say no? I believe that the perfect fit is a construct. I
Mhm.
believe that people are dynamic. I know that I am dynamic. Um, if I met someone with a very high level of integrity, which is my number one standard, which most men can't meet, they, they're not there. Um,
Mhm.
I would give him his props. I would give him his props. I
Mhm.
don't believe it would change my decision
Mhm.
because, again, it wouldn't change all of the very real factors that I discussed before.
Right. And I think it's important to hold on to what the real factors are, what's important to you. I don't no more than I feel like it's bad for a woman to just seek marriage and that's what she wants. I mean, that may be your ministry. But I think a lot of times what we forget is that we have purpose. And your purpose is not always as women and it's not always tied up in being a wife. And you need to know what that looks like. So
Mhm.
I am with you on that. We have a lot of similarities.
We do.
Because I love my freedom. I love being myself. I love exploring myself. And I don't want to have to worry about, oh, can you wear your hair this way? Or, oh, just all of the things that come into play when you're dating a man. Men are simple in some ways, but in other ways they can be so complicated. Because what we don't talk about when we talk about men is how men live in a fantasy world. And they
Mhm.
have their own ideals of what a woman is based on what they've been told, based on
Yep.
TV, based on movies, based on a lot of things. A lot of them are what they call us delusional. A lot of them are not anchored in truth when it comes down to really wanting a woman. Like they may want the look of you, but they don't want you as a woman. And I think a lot of people need to understand that when you're dating, a lot of times these men don't want you. And you need to make sure that person wants you. And that means the good and the bad of you now. Be the best version of yourself. Work on yourself because no
Mhm.
one has to deal with mess. But you as a person, like you say, you're weird. It should be okay, right?
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. And I always say, I said this when I first started doing like the Ready to Love reviews.
Mhm.
Men don't see women. Men will look at a woman. You don't see all that is before you. You don't even comprehend. I'm like, you don't even know
Mhm.
what you're in the presence of right now.
Mhm.
Um, because, we're magical in so many ways that they can't understand. And it's funny with Ready to Love, I watched it play out on the show.
Mhm.
And I was watching men pick women and overlooking, and I'm like, you don't see all of that right there. How are you?
Yeah.
Okay, but I want to get into Kimberly's.
I know, right? Miss
Let's get
Kimberly,
into that.
let us know if you wanna come up.
Yes,
But,
Kimberly.
girl, that part makes me nervous. She
Hmm.
talked about being a side and, in a lot of ways, a lot of us have been women on the side and not necessarily known as some of these men are extreme some of them can be slick. Some of us are not paying
Mhm.
attention to the signs, and we're missing the signs. And then, others are doing it with consent.
Mhm.
But Kimberly, I'm gonna put a thing in the chat. You let me know if you want to come up here. I know you had a hard day at work today.
I
So,
want to hear Kimberly's story today. But high vibe, both. Both.
okay.
I had a man actually tell his wife that he wanted to be with me. He was someone I had known for years, on a friendship level in the art scene, where we were living. And he and I was like, what? Because he asked me in front of okay, story time.
Story time.
So
Okay,
we're
y'all.
at an event.
I'm gonna pause on the comments because I want to focus. Okay.
We're at an event. I had known him for at least a couple years, and
Mhm.
had seen him. Was aware he was married. His wife didn't like really come around because, she was low key, which was fine. But we knew, he had a wife or whatever, and we would all, hang out as friends at these events, right?
Mm-hmm.
Art events.
Mm-hmm.
And so one day we're at an event, there were literally people around, people he knew, people his wife knew. And
Mm-hmm.
he shot his shot literally in
Mm-hmm.
front of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I laughed. I said, "Oh my God, you're so crazy. You're married." And
Mm-hmm.
he said, "Well, what if I wasn't married?" I said, "Stop." And I looked at him after I asked that. I looked at him dead in his face and I was like, "Oh my God, he's serious." And then everybody was like, "Oh my God, he's serious." And he went home and told his wife that he wanted to. I was like, "That's crazy."
Yes. Now we did our show on Polly, right? We did
Yeah.
my first collaboration with my boo,
Mhm.
and it is it's common, common.
Yeah.
Listen, story time because we're
Story
sharing,
time.
right? Story time. Person I call my ex who weren't my men who we weren't committed. I call them lovers. So I had an ex lover who is newly married,
Mm.
and I'm telling you, it had not even been 2 months, and he was like, "Hey, can we try this out?" I said, "What are her thoughts on this?" Now I'm not going to do this because why would I? They just had a child, like it was a whole lot going on. I'm not getting myself intertwined into all of that. Like that's stress. My
Mhm.
life, I don't have those kind of stresses in my life, right? Um, but yeah,
Yeah, that's
wasn't
crazy.
even 2 months.
Yeah.
Um,
And also, there's something else to think
Dangerous.
about for my ladies who are still dating out there. I
Mhm.
also encountered men while I was still dating who were not in relationships, but their heart space belonged to someone.
Someone else.
And so for whatever reason, they're not together. And
Mhm.
so, they want to move on. But I always sought to investigate that. And I remember I had one second date with a guy.
Mhm.
And I said, let's talk, because he had mentioned, an ex or whatever. I said, let's talk about her. And, taking myself out of the dating situation, oh, this could be my guy. And just talking to a brother one on one.
Mhm.
Through my course of questioning, I realized he was still in love with her. He was tore up about it. He
Mhm.
was out dating, trying to get his mind off of it, right? But
Mhm.
if I had been sitting there with hearts in my eyes, like, oh, this big, tall chocolate man is, finally took me out and we're in this fancy place, then
Mhm.
I could have gotten myself entangled into a situation where that man's heart truly doesn't. So by the end of that,
Mhm.
I convinced him to drive back to Atlanta where she was
Right.
and work on the person that you really want to be with and stop involving people in a situation where, they could, be entangled. Hey, Michelle!
But good for you. Let me get down here. Okay. Good for you because a lot of women won't do that. I want to touch on women and accountability in just a little bit. Oh, Kimberly's coming up. Come on, girl. We got another guest, y'all.
Yes, Kimberly.
Hi, Kimberly.
Hey y'all, how are
Hey,
y'all?
good. How are you?
Good. I have been enjoying this, and like First Home said, that thing just hit me so hard because that is my biggest fear. And
Mhm.
just with dating, like I'm the type of person I gotta have the passwords. Like if you refuse to give me your password, we can't date. I mean, that's just it.
Come on, David.
Oh, did somebody else say that?
That was me.
Okay, yeah, and I love people like Janice. I think she said it recently, Janice Hilton, that she has the password to her husband's phone. He has the password to her, her phone or whatever. But for me, it's just that's one of the non-negotiables, I guess, because it is so easy for these men to hide and just I don't know, they can lie so well, you think they can't, and that's what made me become an investigator, a self-proclaimed. investigator, but I will search, and people say, oh, if you look for it, you're going to find it. But that's not true, because you can look for me to cheat all day and you're not going to find it. You can
You're
look.
different. You're different. And, here's the thing. And I would say this, having passwords doesn't prevent that. One of the things I learned about men is that they will always have a sexual partner. Wherever you meet them at life, at whatever point in their life, they have someone satisfying that part of their life. And that is because they develop a relationship with their own gratification very, very young. And that is central and centric to their life, to where it's a physiological need. It's like eating, right? If you have a spouse that doesn't want you to eat today, well, you have a physiological need to do that. So, you might figure out a way for your spouse not to know, that you ate food today, right? But they have a sacred relationship with their own bodies, and no commitment or level of commitment will ever trump that.
No, it takes some serious integrity. It just takes integrity from that man, honestly. And he has to have control over his parts. And there are not too many men out here who can do that. And there are not too many men who aren't willing to risk. Some men will get it in their minds like, I'm not willing to risk everything that I've gained. But that is
But in their mind, it's not wrong. That's why I
right.
don't like saying cheating. I don't like calling men dogs for doing this, because
Mhm.
in their mind, it's not wrong. It's a betrayal of their own, again, sacred relationship with their own body, with their own gratification, to deny themselves. That's more wrong than quote unquote cheating to them.
For a lot of them, yes. Although they do have their little moments sometimes when I messed up. But you
Yeah.
cheat on them one time, they'll lose their whole life. I
Yeah.
want to just in a moment, I want to say, Misha, welcome, honey. I'm so happy you are here. Who else popped in? Thank you, ladies, for stopping by. So, Kimberly, tell us a little bit more about this story.
Oh, yes. Let me sit back.
So, okay, so what do y'all want to know? Like I said, I have
Everything.
been. I'm a retired side chick. Look, I gave that life up because I'm like, listen. Now I do my homework. I investigate head on from the first conversation, because it's not a good feeling, when you find this out down the road and you're already, kind of invested in this person, and they're hiding it so well. But little simple stuff, because men will slip up. Y'all say, oh, there is multiple ways, or that men will slip up if you give them time, if you have access. What Misha say, if you put on the trench coat and get the magnifying glasses out. But it was a situation. My first situation actually was a pastor, a white pastor, and I was a teenager. And he's actually in prison now, serving maybe 30 years, because I was underage. But he was married. I did not know. We were together 9 months. And I would have never thought that this white, pastor would do something like that. And when I found out, I mean, he didn't wear his ring. There was no light mark there. At that time, I wasn't going through the phones and checking social media, because it was, I was a teenager. And it was just very eye-opening. But I don't think I really started investigating and really doing research until my late 20s. And that is when I could really find things out. And I really haven't attracted that type of man since then. It's like, I don't know what it is, but they really have not been attracted to me, or even, trying the nonsense with me since I started learning to investigate. And I don't know if it's because maybe I investigate and cut them off quicker, or what, or maybe I prayed, and like I said, I just gave up that. But it's amazing how they can fund two homes, because one guy, the next guy, he was getting like bonuses, and he would give me the bonus. It'd be like thousands of dollars, and he would give me the bonus. And I'm like, well, how did your wife not know, that you were funding? But then I found out it was a bonus. So the wife didn't know that he was getting bonuses. So that's why it's good to know the benefits your husband is getting, or your spouse, not even your husband, because everyone doesn't desire to be married. But if you desire to have a monogamous relationship, you need to know these things. You really need to go there. But yeah, I could go on, and it was only three guys. And the last guy, I think it was 2014. He was not married, but his girlfriend was pregnant and they were living together. He invited me to the house, washed my car in her front yard. How that happened, she worked second shift. He and I worked first shift. So it was easy. And he took all the pictures down. The color scheme in her house was brown, gray, and black. Looked manly to me. I'm in the living room chilling by myself. No idea. And I searched his Facebook. He had 3 Facebook accounts. And I found the one that she was connected to, and I inboxed her. We talked for maybe 2 hours. I told her everything, and they stayed together. So I say doing the research helps, and I just don't want to let that go. Doing the research, having those passwords, make it harder, because these women made it too easy. They made it too easy to cheat.
And that's true. Now, I do believe in doing the research, but I think it's just that if they're determined, they're determined. But I believe in doing the research too, Kimberly, especially in the beginning, like in that assessment phase and your dating phase. That's an important time to like really look into, is this person being honest or not, who they are, a little background on them. So I don't think you should eliminate it. It's just that for some, it really truly may not matter, and there are a lot of men who have, we talk about molestation. I'm gonna get dark here just for a second. We talk about molestation and things like that for women. We don't really talk about it with men. And a lot of men are introduced to sex young and by an older woman, and they have the same issues that women do. Either they shut down completely or they can become extremely hypersexual. Um, and they have that desire that and then you have men who are telling them it's a manly for you to have multiple women. But a lot of these men are fighting demons, trying not to succumb to what they feel like, what makes them question their sexuality. I'm trying to say get a YouTube jail. So you have to be very careful. I mean, it's complex. Nothing about this situation is black and white, and it is difficult to find someone who really truly wants to be in a healthy monogamous relationship. I want to say hi to Crystal. I knew someone that's jumping. Hi, Crystal. Thank you for stopping by, my love. Kimberly, I'm sorry that happened to you, and I appreciate you.
No, I'm really sorry. I didn't know it was like a situation where you were underage. I'm really sorry to hear about that.
Yeah. So
Thanks, y'all.
What advice would you give, love? What advice would you give to other women? We know you say research, but what other advice would you give to prevent someone else from getting into a situation like that?
Just be wise, stick to your standards, and have like a trusted someone that you can talk to, because a lot of times we don't see the signs, but someone else can see, because we're so in love or infatuated with all that they're doing, and they seem packaged pretty well, but sometimes you can have that trusted friend who can say, that's not adding up, it doesn't sound right. I also say seek therapy, because I feel like it was something attracting me to those people. I don't know, but I thank God for my therapist and God. But I thank God for therapy and just having someone there to talk to, and making you feel like, okay, you're not wrong. Don't give up on dating, or if that's your choice, and just pursuing relationships still, because like I said, that is the one thing to this day that just is like, it's a little ting there about it. But you just have someone trusted you can talk to, and don't try to be so secretive when you're dating people. Tell people who you're dating, where you're going. And then, just try to stick to those standards, because I can say, with the guys, even though they were spending the night, I want someone who can travel. and they couldn't be gone for multiple nights at a time.
Right.
So it was only, a night here, we could go to the beach or something for one night, but it wasn't like multiple nights. So different stuff like that
Mhm.
really helps outside of the passwords and the researching.
Absolutely. But you know what? And thank you for that. And I agree with all your points. I'm working on a video. I was supposed to put it up last week, child,
New
about
content alert.
oh, huh?
I said new content alert.
New content alert. Thank you.
Guys, turn
Uh,
on your notifications.
yes, ma'am. I love you. Thank you. Where I want to talk about things to do in your singleness. And one of the things, hello, welcome. One of the things I feel is very, very important is that you get yourself a solid group of friends. That's one of my things. One of my get a solid, I mean, group of friends that you really, really trust. So, I'm going to say learn to love yourself, learn who you are as a person and as a woman, get in touch with yourself, get in touch with your higher power so that you can have that you can trust your intuition, because a lot of us don't trust ourselves, and we should. And afterwards we'll
Mhm.
say, I knew I shouldn't have done that. I
Mhm.
knew something was wrong. And you will know not to ignore yourself. Once you really get to know yourself and trust yourself, you can identify things. And then of course I'm going to talk about healing. It's important to heal, because a lot of times we're attracting ourselves sometimes, and sometimes we're attracting the person we're trying to protect that hurt us from our past. So we haven't let these things go. So there's that. There's like so many components there. And sometimes life is about lessons. There's some lessons that needs to be learned to help prepare you for your future. And I find that a lot of times, like my ex that I talk to you guys about, that I do share about, one thing about him is that there was a pattern. And with him, I finally was like, I got to figure out why I keep choosing this particular type of guy, because this doesn't make sense. That has this problem, because nothing about my men are really similar as far as looks and things like that. But
Mhm.
I did have some similarities. And I found out what we were bonding over, and we were bonding over our relationships with our mothers. I was abandoned by my mom. He was abandoned by his mom. I'm abandoned by my dad. He's abandoned by his dad. And you bond over that because you feel like there's something familiar. But next thing you know, it ends up you become trauma bonded to this person. He's the only person I stuck it out with. I only stuck it out with one guy. Usually I'm like, okay, I gotta go because I got abandonment issues. So I'm kicking you out the door. I'm like, okay, that's it. I don't like your shirt. It's over. I'm breaking up with you for everything.
Not the
But this
shirt.
person,
I said not the shirt.
the shirt, child, it'd be anything, but anything that made me feel uncomfortable with. But with him, I stuck it out, and I wanted to know, why did I stick it out?
Hmm.
What made me stay? And that relationship put a mirror to my face, and it was eye-opening. And that's when I decided, like, I'm a really going this is when I'm really going to do my healing journey. Like, I'm about to dig in seriously, because not that there's something wrong with me, there's things that need to be healed. And I learned that, hey, you're bonding over both of you guys having this issue. The problem is you had therapy and you believe in God. The difference is he never had therapy. And for men, it's harder to bounce back from their mother leaving them. But I'm gonna get off of my soapbox. Okay.
Something like close to that, though. Also, for me, when I was still dating, I realized I stuck it out more or stayed longer than I should with men who displayed something that I had never experienced before but always wanted. So, like, there's this one quality that makes us kick every other standard, out the door. And so that's something to think about, to be sure that you're seeing someone clearly.
Absolutely. First, and it's important to take your time for that very reason. We want to rush into marriage. We want to rush into relationships. It looks good. It feels good. But it's like, take your time, because I call it the starving method. Just because you never get this over here, just like after a breakup. After you break up with somebody, take your time. Don't go jumping into a relationship,
Mhm.
because that guy will be the guy that gives you something that the other guy didn't give you. But you're ignoring all the other red flags, all because you're starving for whatever you were missing in that past relationship. Y'all better come on and preach now. You're welcome, Miss Creative. Thank you for being here, honey. So, what else would you like to add, Miss Kimberly? We thank you and appreciate you for sharing your story.
Nothing. That was just a great point because I do believe in taking breaks. When you're in a serious relationship, and that's why I also believe in dating multiple because you're not giving your all to that one person. All your energy and time and emotions because we can really get wrapped up in those emotions. But that's it. Thank you all. And yes, I do desire marriage, so I don't want anybody to get confused. I know what the title says.
Colin,
I
what
Oh,
time
do.
you watching this gentleman?
Right, right. But thank you so much. This has been great. I have really enjoyed this live. I was so interested since First Home Tuber said it, 2 weeks ago. I was like, oh, I need to hear more about that because more people need to take that route. A lot of people are in relationships just to say they're in one or just to please the narrative, and they're hurting people because they don't want to get married and they're tied to someone who does, and they just need to make it plain. This is not what I want to do, or this is what I want to do. How do you feel about it? Let me decide. So that's it. Thanks, ladies. Y'all have a good night.
you too, Kim. Thank you. And
And
to
go ahead.
go ahead first.
No,
No,
no, no,
please,
go
please, please,
girl.
go ahead, please.
And a lot of women are wives or are in marriages and they're not truly happy. But they're, I think, in some instances, ashamed to say it, especially after having fantasized about it for so long, having romanticized the idea of it for so long. It's kind of like Cardi B, who's in the news this week. I keep bringing up Cardi B, finally reaching the height of fame and wealth and saying, oh, it's not so great up here. I actually was having a great time, on the pole and with my friends in the hood or whatever, just to, draw a parallel. But I think also there are many women who get to their quote unquote goal of becoming married and realize it's really not that.
It's not. You have to ask yourself before marriage, what do you want out of this relationship? What type of marriage do you desire? What are your expectations of this marriage and your partner? Some people, again, they just want the title. They just want to say, I'm married. And really, it's about validation. They want to say, a man chose me,
Mm-hmm.
right? But baby, you are a goddess. You are to choose as well.
Oh,
You
come
need
on.
to know the value you bring into a man's life. He said, it's not good for you to be alone. Let me get you some help. Okay.
Come
He
on.
said, you can't bear children. Let me give you a womb, honey, to give
Yeah.
life. And that could also not only grow life, sustain life, but feed life going forward. So I don't think again, I always talk about our power. We have so much power as women, and we have been tricked into thinking that we don't, and all we need is to grab a man to come make us whole and complete. But we don't really know that we are the completion. And I'm not taking away from men. Men have a lot of power and they have their place, but a woman is God-like. I don't want to say God because I don't want anybody thinking I'm being blasphemous, but
Mhm.
it's God-like. We bring forth life. We bring forth we are creative, we are receivers, and what we receive blossoms and grows. And you have to know that about yourself. You have to know how beautiful and strong and powerful you are as a woman. And you are not a cum dump, excuse my language, but
Woo.
you're not a cum dump. You're not to be used and abused. You're not a sample size. You are a woman. You are God's child. And he said, present her to me without blemish. So make sure that man is going to give you all that he's supposed to give.
Right. And that's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say, if you decide to continue to date or you do want to be married, make sure you get everything that you require out of that situation. Make sure you negotiate it up front and make
Mhm.
sure that that union and that person that you are tied to is held to that. And make sure you know and understand what you would want if God forbid something would happen and you have to walk away from that situation, and make sure you negotiate it up front. And to truly know your value and to have someone else truly know your value, that will not be a problem. That should not be a problem.
That should not be a problem. Be selective in who it is you choose to tie yourself to and spend the rest of your life with. I agree first. Don't I agree in negotiating up front and not don't be afraid to speak. Don't
Mm-hmm.
be afraid to say that you may lose him if you speak up or if you say something. He's not meant for you. The man that truly loves you will go to the ends of he will go to the ends of the earth for you. He will do everything that needs to be done. His sole purpose in life will be to protect and provide for you, and that is on every level. And that's one thing I do hope and pray for everyone, that you have that love, that you experience the love of someone who really truly gets up every day knowing that I'm going to take care of her, I'm going to provide for her, and the decisions that I make are going to be good for her and my family. And it's not just for me. I've been blessed to have that kind of love. It didn't work out, but it didn't work out because there's other things that were needed in that relationship. But to this
Mm-hmm.
day, me and him are friends. And to this day, that man makes sure that I am okay. To this day, you know? So there's good love out here,
Yeah.
but it's also good to be single. And like you said, you are loved and you love yourself. That's right. Don't be
I feel
afraid
love
to walk
right now.
like you are right now. And I'm loving every bit of the
Yeah.
both of us. It's a single party, honey.
Mhm.
It's a single it's a single party. That's right. We're going to communicate our needs from the beginning. Don't be afraid to walk away.
Crystal.
That's an old that come dump is an old saying from my grandparents. They're like, you know how to come dump, you don't let some man leave you with a wet tail. And you don't.
Oh my God.
Is it after hours? I'm not monetized yet, so I won't have any problems.
Okay, good.
But yeah, you gotta they sell us. Nope, he's not on Amazon Prime, love. He's not. I wish I have a whole Amazon store just for men. Like, come on, ladies. I'm having a sale.
That's funny.
That's funny. You guys, I want to thank y'all so much for coming into this live, for participating, for just being here. I appreciate you more than you know. I'm sure you guys know this. And first, I love you, girl. And I thank you so much for sharing your story and your wisdom. Kimberly Reviews, thank you so much for sharing your story and your wisdom as well. Kimberly says she's going to buy two of them. Child. Don't get yourself in trouble, Kim.
Please
Okay.
tell me Cinco and she'll be Kimberly Duo.
So what else? Thank you so much, Miss Joe. So what else would you like to say before we end this live? That's been so much fun.
It's been a lot of fun. Shout out to the ladies in the chat. I would like to say, in conclusion, that when you see a single woman, don't feel sorry or bad for her. Don't assume something is wrong with her. Know that you may be looking at someone who is intelligent and thoughtful and in charge of her life and just making the best decision for her. And if, someone else comes out of the closet like myself with their alternative lifestyle of single for life, just embrace that and yeah, accept her for who she is.
That's right. And know that it takes a lot of strength not to want to be what people want you to be and to live your life on your own terms. That takes a lot of strength. And I commend you, my love. I really, really do. Because you're a beautiful woman. And I know you hear that all the time. But you're so pretty. But you're so pretty. So why? You're so pretty.
Thank you, Queen. How are you?
You're welcome. Thank you. Lord, all my lipstick is gone, y'all. I want to thank you. I'm happy you ladies enjoyed the live and enjoyed the convo. I'm going to do this more on my channel. I am going to be getting away from shows. Not in its entirety. I'm going to um I'm going to just do bits about the show, but I'm not going to really get into shows. I want to do more conversations like this. I feel like we as women need to have these conversations, and I feel like we can all learn and grow from one another. And I want us to share our experiences and our wisdom and our sisterhood with one another. So that is what I'm looking for. First, tell us what's coming up on your channel. What can we look forward to and where everyone can find you.
First Home Tuber on your favorite social media platform. What I have coming up on my YouTube channel is Own a Spot Live. It's the entire Own a Spot program live with lots of bells and whistles. Okay, it's going to be crazy. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you over on my channel. You're very, very welcome to be there.
Guys, stop by. She has a lot of great information. Kim, I'm still going to do something here and there. I just won't do them consistently. I'll do them like, you know, there's something happening and I'll review that. It's just, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I want us to do more of those shows or the same, different people. Girl. Okay. Let's just have a moment. All right. Thank you, ladies, for stopping by. First, can you stay with me for a minute as we log off of here? I appreciate you guys for stopping by. I love you guys. I'm happy you love the live. Thank you so much for sending us love and peace. I send it back to you. I want to say, I want you guys to please love yourself for who you are. Have a great night. Hugs and kisses to you.